Okay, everybody, this is Bronco Juggalo, and I have just been blown away by this movie right here, The Forest of the Lost Souls. Now, this movie, I bought it on the MVD Wild Eye sale because it was recommended to me by Horrific Nightmares JM. Jason really wanted to know what I thought of this film, and as soon as I got it in, he asked me to review it. Now, this is a 2017 art house slasher movie. Now, don't let that fool you. This is not your typical slasher. This is directed by Jose Pedro Lopez. It is a Portuguese film. Now, for those of you that don't know, Portugal is a small country right off the, next to Spain and right next to the coast. And I've actually been there a few times, and it's a really nice place. This stars Daniela Love as Caroline and Jorge Mota as Ricardo, or Daddy. Now, in the movie, it never actually says that her name is Caroline, and it never says that his name is Ricardo, or that even his name is Daddy. Now, I keep doing Daddy like this because that's what he's called in the film by different people in the film for different reasons. Now, I'm not going to give you the same thing that's on the back of this as the synopsis. I'm going to kind of tell you how I looked at the synopsis. A up-and-coming serial killer uses this place, this forest, that is popular for suicides, as a hunting ground to hone their skills. I very much look at this as a coming-of-age slasher film. This is a slasher movie about a killer trying to find their identity. Now, I'm not going to say who the killer is because I want you to go out and watch this movie for yourself. There is a little more than is expected in this film, if you ask me. The first thing that I notice about this movie right off the bat is the black and white filming. A lot of times black and white can be a cliche thing in horror movies. Not in this movie. It gives it an ethereal, almost otherworldly feel to the film. A vast emptiness, but at the same time a warm and comforting feel. I loved the cinematography of it. Black and white or color, cinematography is cinematography. You still have to light things properly. You still have to be able to aim and shoot that camera the right way. And this movie does it all beautifully. The shots are breathtaking. There are beautiful sweeping shots in this film. There are great close-ups. There are just absolute great scenery shots, and they just filmed this movie incredibly well. I am so happy with the way this movie came out. Killer trying to figure out what kind of killer they're going to be. What kind of person that they are. You can tell that they're dealing with the person that they are and who they show to the outer world, but also releasing this urge they have inside of them and how they deal with it and how they're going to make this their life. You can tell that that is the goal. And I just loved that story arc. I loved that struggle that you see within the film. I had no cons for this. Everything I'm talking about in this movie is a pro. This movie literally blew me away. And one of my favorite things about this movie is that it starts with an introspective sadness that turns into a brutal middle and almost end of the third act. All the way from the middle of the film to almost the end of the film at the third act, it turns into this brutal, just almost a horrific montage of death. And then it goes into a place of peaceful contentment. And you are literally transformed along with the killer. And you can't help but feel, in a way, I know this sounds terrible, but in a way happy for the way things end up. But you also know how wrong it is, and you know that what is going to come next, if there were to be anything next, would not be good. And to me, that shows human nature at its absolute most disturbing, that you can identify with this character at the end of the film. Kind of like in how the end of Devil's Rejects, you're almost rooting for them to get away. At least I was, I know that. Because of that piece of music and that long shot, and you're almost like, yeah, go, get through, make it. It's kind of the same in this film, where you actually feel for the killer, which is just insane. It doesn't make any sense. Guys, this movie is fantastic. I found out that this movie has a 75% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, you know I don't put any stock in Rotten Tomatoes whatsoever. Rotten Tomatoes is nothing but a bunch of bullshit. It really is. And I don't care what anybody says, it's bullshit. Some people say, oh, it's just a compilation of people's reviews. Yeah, well, people do false reviews and fake reviews all the time for different reasons. Not the least of which is monetary gain. So, when a lot of those guys get together and do those reviews, they're doing it for a reason, and they're doing it to drive scores down on purpose. So, Rotten Tomatoes is bullshit. But for a independent film, a Wild Eye film, to get such a high score on there and on IMDb is just a very amazing thing. I cannot recommend this movie enough. If I've been quiet, I'm sorry. My kids are asleep in the next room. I'm trying not to be too loud. Please forgive me, and I hope you've enjoyed this Wild Eye Wednesday. I want to thank Wild Eye Releasing for being an awesome company. I want to thank MVD for having such a great sale, for allowing me to get this at such a great price. This is an awesome Blu-ray release. It really is amazing. You definitely need to check out The Forest of the Lost Souls. This is a movie that will change your outlook on art house horror for good. This is Bronco Juggalo saying Happy Wild Eye Wednesday. Peace.
Are afraid of me, many reasons they should be creatures, what they labeled me, leave them bleeding painfully. These bitches cannot compete.